Welcome to the DraftKings running back analysis for Week 15. I'm Jason Gilbo, Jacob11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. You're taking a look at running backs this week, cash game, GPP, and value. And we got some high-price guys here, and obviously a price that I don't know. I mean, I always fail to recall like pricing from the past, but I definitely don't think we've ever seen a running back 10K. I think Antonio Brown may have been 10K at one point, but I don't think we saw a running back at 10K.
Even Jamal Charles, during his awesome season a few years ago, was not 10K. And that's really the only guy we've seen the past since DFS was created really be a dominant running back. But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be what it is, going forward. Either way, point being, I made the cash game running backs and even the tournament running backs really more on the expensive side because I think that's how we're working from now on, Like, it's not all about value at running back. I don't think that's really a viable strategy at this point. I think you're basing your entire week on, okay, what top-end running back am I using? And then, I'll figure it out everywhere else. So I had David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell as my cash game running backs, and we will talk about it, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, in the past, I think once we got to basically week 12 or 13, we got to a point where you just don't fade David Johnson.
Yeah.
There's value wideouts opening up. Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, they're not consistent like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson.
No, they're not. And David Johnson hit his absolute floor the other week. And if you watch the game, it was just rain-soaked. Everyone was just soaked. It was like London in the if you don't have an umbrella or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, 10-1 against the Saints. Saints are bad against the run. They actually have been a little better of late in terms of allowing yards per carry. David Johnson hasn't been that great in terms of yards per carry of late. But he's just got that receiving game, it's just so important, especially on DraftKings. If he gets those 6-7 catches for 60 yards, he's already got 13 points before you even get out of the gate. So, if he puts together a long run or a touchdown, he's already, at 20. I just think he's... Realistically, if you ran this matchup 30, 40 times, he's hitting 30 points more than half the time. So I think you just have to keep rolling with it. I know it's 10K. I know that's a tragic number, but I think you just kind of keep going for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard not to, especially in this matchup. And I mean, for GPPs, could you look to fade or use a McCoy or use a Freeman? Or, Coleman, who we'll talk about.
Yeah, you can. Now, fading isn't necessarily dropping down that far in salary, but I think you can fade. I've been kind of saying this for a while. You can fade David Johnson, but that doesn't mean you're going down to 4K. You still need to get that tier 1 every week, at least 1, if not 2.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think that's just where we are at this point in the season. Different, the injuries have opened things up, obviously, but, it's not like earlier in the year.
And, hey, if you want to play the Saturday slate, maybe you throw in Bilal Powell instead of every other running back, and then you'll just win. But, other than that.
Yeah, I know you're a big Bilal Powell this week, and it's a bummer that he's on Saturday.
It was crushing when I saw that yesterday.
Le'Veon Bell next, and obviously coming off a monster week, going on the road against Cincinnati. Bell is one of the guys you can just trust on the road. I mean, one, he doesn't really have an effect. He can do it on the ground and in the passing game.
Yeah, fire away. 9,800. It's certainly pricey, but just like David Johnson. Now, the interesting thing is, I think the ownership's going to be with Bell after last week instead of Johnson. Johnson kind of let people down. I think that's a good thing for DFS to know. So I'm probably going to be going with more Johnson exposure just because I think he's going to be lower owned in tournaments. But overall, I'm fine with both. I think that it's pretty much a toss-up. I don't really have a preference. If I were to choose, though, I'd go I'd go Johnson. But yeah, I mean Bell. We know what we're getting. I don't have to tell the viewers what you're getting with Le'Veon Bell, which is just a dominant running back. Probably, probably other than maybe Marshall Faulk, probably the most fun running back to watch in the league. He just sits behind the line and like dances. He's like dancing at 240 pounds. Then he sees a hole and you're like, oh crap. And he just cuts down and he cuts by the safety and he like cuts through the corner and you're like, Jesus, this guy's 240 pounds.
I think it was his second touchdown when he basically was behind a lineman for about 10 yards untouched, like literally walking or like a slow jog behind a lineman
Yeah.
for about 10 yards and just walks into the end zone. That was it.
Sometimes, being patient just pays off like that. And he waits it out every time and is athletic enough to take advantage of it. So it's amazing to watch. I love seeing it. But, it's a toss up. They're both unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another one here who's a top back, but a good GPP pivot, Ezekiel Elliott. This one, I mean, you do get a little bit of a discount here. And you and I were kind of talking before the show. We could see Elliott kind of going for one of those big 100-yard, 2-touchdown games.
And, Dallas coming off a loss. They got a lot of people doubting them. I know that's narrative, but it's not like these players don't think about that. Tampa Bay's been playing well, but, in Dallas against that offensive line, I really think Zeke's an interesting contrarian play. You get a cheaper price. And, with LaShawn McCoy priced up but facing the Browns, I think Zeke's going to see some of his lowest ownership of the year, which is hard to say because people haven't really been on him in a DFS sense. But when you look at Dallas and what they need to do, they need to give him 20 to 25 touches a game. And he's going to continue to get that. Hasn't had a big play in the last few games. I think, he's due. I'm really making this a narrative-based analysis here, but I just think, looking at how he's performed this year with that offensive line just makes a lot of sense to, if the ownership's going to be 10%, I mean, I think you just fire away in tournaments.
I like him a lot because I do like the discount. And I mean, I think you could get a couple of cheap guys here, like Freeman, Elliott, obviously McCoy's still priced up, Coleman. You can make interesting pairings work where, you may not feel good about fading a Bell or Johnson, but you can get pretty damn close to what their projection is and still carry some value.
Or even playing a David Johnson Zeke lineup, I think is going to be really underdone. I think it's all going to be David Johnson Bell. I don't think there's going to be a ton of overlap there. So, or if people are going down to McCoy, like I just think that's the way people are going to go. So if you can get Zeke, I mean, we've already seen him have a 40-point game early this year. It's not like the upside isn't there. If they get rolling on Tampa early, we could see, 150 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. We really could.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, any running back against the 49ers at this point's in play.
Yeah.
Tevin Coleman, 5K, coming off a good week against the Rams, and obviously in a good spot here.
Yeah, and, you watched Devonta Freeman get blown up last week. Might have a concussion. I mean, whether they say it or not. They could limit his touches in this game. Obviously, a humongous, spread in this game. So I think Atlanta's going to be fine. They're going to figure this out. Julio, if he doesn't play again, I mean, Tevin Coleman honestly could be the featured guy by Sunday. And, with Freeman, I think he's practicing, but he got hurt last week. So I think they know that Coleman could see his most touches of the season, and if that's the case, against this 49ers team, if Jaquiz Rodgers can get 150 yards, why can't Tevin Coleman on 12 carries?
And, I mean, Coleman would probably jump into immediately a cash value if that was the case. If it comes out that Freeman was a limited role for week.
I mean, he got a concussion last week. I mean, they can say whatever they want.
Dr. Russ in the house.
I know he got a concussion. It's just how they deal with it. So I think that's an interesting thing to take into the weekend. Just be aware.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, with that being said about Freeman, I mean, are you still looking at him as a possible GPP option or more just
If he
using the
plays,
discount Coleman?
if he plays, I'm definitely getting exposure to Freeman. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if something comes out, maybe he's in the concussion protocol. Maybe he passes it, but, could still limit his touches against the bad 49ers team.
Yeah, definitely. And then your value back here, Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, the news is that Adrian Pearson came back to practice, but from what I've seen, it doesn't expect like it's going to be this week.
We just need one more week, ADP. Just give me one more week, buddy. I'll tell you what, the Vikings need him very badly. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do behind that line. How about him coming back from a major injury in the same season? What? 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 Are you serious? But, Jerick obviously been getting the touches, 20 touches last game, really 15 or more in the stretch here. His volume has kind of given him a pretty decent floor at 4K against Indianapolis. I think this is a great matchup for him.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, we talked about him on the salary exploitation, and obviously working in the passing game, and a decent volume in the run game as well. Certainly in play against this offense, who do struggle against backs like him. We've seen it with Lamar Miller twice. We've seen it with a couple other backs within the division. They've had their way.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we can feel pretty good about McKinnon's floor here. As far as his upside, I actually do think he was a big play guy before this year. We haven't seen much or any of it because of the line, but I do still think he has that big playability. We saw a 40-yard reception a few weeks ago. I mean, there's no reason he can't take an 80-yard touchdown to the house against the Colts.
No, definitely not. I mean, obviously great speed, tremendous athlete. We could see that potential.
Vision, obviously, a little question at this point.
Yeah, but when that vision is just basically brick walls in front of you.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to toss out some guys here. I'm just want quick thoughts, put you on the hot seat real quick. Carlos Hyde, thoughts on him this week?
I like it. In Hotlanta, I think that game's going to get out of hand maybe. But we'll see. I do like him. He's a tournament guy for me, though.
Yeah, certainly. Lamar Miller coming off a good week.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously, I wrote up 5 guys. I love Lamar Miller this week. Great matchup. I actually expect him to continue to get it rolling. Houston's going to use him in a must-win game. So, 20 to 25 touches again. Obviously, Miller's pretty talented, so I do like him quite a bit.
LeGarrette Blount.
I don't know. There's just some guys some weeks where I just don't know. He's a guy that I don't have a good read on at this stage. Obviously, he's had huge upside this year, but I'm just unsure with a lot of guys that I'm already sure about. So I don't know how much exposure I'm going to have to him.
On a week like this where there are a ton of backs, it is tough. But, I mean, it's not a bad spot. Running backs against Denver have not been bad this year.
Yeah. For some reason, I still don't trust it, even though I know they're not good against the run. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
I don't know why. I just can't.
I mean, it's the same price as Tevin Coleman, too. So, I mean, obviously that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, last one here, Isaiah Crowell, 4,100.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I'm
not going to – I haven't had any exposure to Crowell all season, and I don't know that week 15 is the time I start, but I get the logic behind it. I'm okay with the play. Cool with it.
I like him this week as a punt option.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings running back analysis for Week 15. If you want to check out Russell's article, it is up on the site now. You can get his glorious picks of David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell, and his Tevin Coleman love. So be sure to head on over there and check that out, and be sure to check out our cheat sheets that will be dropping later tonight for Week 15, FanDuel and DraftKings. And that's going to wrap it up. So see you guys next week.